Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and what's next. It's a show that asks questions and peels back the layers of our average everyday experience and goes beyond scratching the surface. We interview people doing incredible things who are making a difference around the globe. Join me as we listen in and get one step closer to understanding that big ideas shared create collaboration. Collaboration can inspire community, and communities create social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face.
So my next interview was, I know I often say this, but it was a real treat. In fact, in some ways, all my interviews are a real treat for me. I don't take any of them for granted. And I was able to spend some time with Thomas Mazziotti, a filmmaker, director, writer, producer, and Thomas Sadoski. You probably, you know at least one of them. You know, Life in Pieces. Newsroom. Thomas has got lots of things going on. Check him out online on IMDb and other places. A few major projects in I think pre and post production as well. And actually, Thomas Mazziotti didn't ask him about what was next, but I'm hopeful that something else is around the corner soon. We talk about their new film, The Mimic, and it is a unique and a captivating and fascinating film. It's I think in some ways it's I was going to say it's a better story, but it's not a better story. It's just it's a very engaging story, and it's, as Thomas will tell you, rooted in a true story and a neighborhood that he lives in, and a neighbor who actually helped get him set up for the Zoom call and the Zoom interview that we had today. It's available online, iTunes. I think it's going to be video on demand in a few other places, and maybe even making its way into a few theaters. But we talk about what it means to be a sociopath, and I know that sounds crazy, but this is a pretty important film and a pretty important topic in a sense, rooted in something, as Thomas Sadoski says, very, very human and very real. And isn't this crazy, beautiful thing we call life rooted in paradox and complexity and contradiction? And so, for me, it was a real treat. Rapid fire dialogue. You're gonna hear that. You're gonna see that a lot in reviews for sure. But we talked about this style of Thomas's and how he is kind of rooted in the way movies used to be made. And so, the idea of a theatrical production, kind of being another way to see film. And so we talk about The Mimic, we talk about relationships and community, we talk about healing, we talk about this sense of loss, and we just really had a great time because, I mean, having said that this is a serious film, or taking on at least a serious subject, it's also done in a really wonderful and light and comedic way. And you're going to sense it right out of the gate when you step in. You're going to find out maybe just why you can use Febreeze as a cologne. And by the way, watch the film. Make sure you watch it all the way through the credits. You're going to find some interesting stuff coming out there. And the question is, and it comes up in our interview, you said addict, I said addict. So hopefully that's enough for you to say, I want to step in and I want to learn a little bit more, not only about these two guys, but about this story as well. One of my favorite lines from the film is keep ringing the doorbell. Maybe someone is going to answer. And or how about it's not really a one-way mirror. So this for me was this lovely, wonderful, deep existential journey as well. So stay tuned for my interview coming up with Thomas and Thomas in moments. And the film is The Mimic. It's coming soon to a digital theater near you, and maybe even a real one. Check it out. And also davidpecklive.com for more information about my writing and my speaking. And of course, the podcast is there. If you found your way to that or to this interview through iTunes, would love it if you would leave us a review there. It's important to get those reviews, and please socially mediate us so that we can get word on the street. If you're listening to this on YouTube, like us there and subscribe. We're trying to get more subscribers all the time. It's really the only way to get noticed, and we're having a blast. I'm having a blast over here, and just feel so blessed to be able to interview such interesting, wonderful, creative people, telling stories that matter. So stay tuned. Coming right up, Thomas Sadoski and Thomas Mazziotti talking about their new film, The Mimic. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We're joined by two very special guests here with us today. We have Thomas Mazziotti and Thomas Sadoski here to talk about a wonderful, compelling, captivating, fascinating new film called The Mimic. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. This is wonderful to have you on Face to Face.
Well, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody's got to be talking about the rapid fire dialogue, the reality of that, the truth in that, the beauty of it as well, because it's almost like a mathematical formula to me. You know, it just plays out so well, and I'd love for either of you just to step into that. How about Thomas? Maybe I am going to have to call you Tommy. Maybe I am.
Go for it.
Yeah. So tell me how you stepped into that kind of dialogue. I mean, you're kind of used to that, really, with Life in Pieces and a little bit of Aaron Sorkin in your background, right? I mean,
sure, yeah, and you know, in theater, coming from a theater background, you know, Thomas Mazziotti, he writes in that old school style, you know, that old school style that I really appreciate from you know the days when theater and film were not different. You know, when film was just recorded theater, you know,
right.
And he writes literate film, you know, the film that relies on the words and the performance of the words, and so I have a background and a sort of natural love for that stuff. So sliding into it, I mean, that's part of why I fell in love with the script and wanted to be a part of it. I saw it for what it was and wanted to jump on board.
It really is an amazing script. Thomas Mazziotti, you know, again, congratulations to you both on the film. I mean, I really did love the film, and I hope, I often say this, you know, you guys are, I don't know, 550 published interviews for me, I think it's going to be. So I've been doing this a while, but I hope everybody sees this film because it's entertaining, it's thoughtful, and I think it introduces us to something that so many of us wouldn't really have time to appreciate in any other way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. It's showing a side of a sociopath that's never been seen before, which is my main effort. We've seen them as murderers and dark and death and all, but we've never seen this, and that was my main motivation. You know, I really wanted to explore something never been done before.
Can you talk a little bit about the truth and the fictional side of things? Because to me, I have background in philosophy. It's not. I'm more interested in the truth it points to, in a way. But I think I've heard you say this is a true story. Can you?
Well, yeah, it's based. Yeah, it's based on someone that actually still lives in my town.
Right.
So that's why I try to avoid the post office, places like that. And
are you wearing red pants right now, Thomas? I need to know.
No.
Oh, okay.
Tommy, that's Tommy. No, that's Jake's character. No.
Right.
Jake's
yes.
character.
Yeah. I have just so you know, I may be 55, but I do own a pair of those red pants thanks to Elizabeth, my wife. So I think I've worn them once. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, the once is important.
That's right. Nice. Touche. Yeah.
I you know, the important thing here is I didn't realize what was happening while it was happening, because it has to happen for you then to look back and say, okay, there's something really interesting here. But believe me, when it was happening, you don't realize it. It's so slight and so subtle, because that's what they do. They draw you in, you know. But when the opening of the film, which is verbatim, which I don't want to ruin, when that happened, it was time to end it.
Right.
Okay.
So when I mean, but either of you, please just step in, because, you know, really just a great. I saw your film, by the way. I saw The Mimic as a conversation. I mean, it is a conversation. It's clearly got a hyper kind of kinetic My Dinner with Andre feel to it, I suppose. But for me, this is it's about life. It's about the paradox, the complexity. It's about the nonsense of it all. And yet we're in it together, you know, Thomas.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things that I love so much about the film is that it is two people unpacking the madness of life and trying to figure out who's the craziest, you know, like that. And that, to me, there's something so quintessentially human about that. If you're honest, a lot of conversations that you're having with people are unpacking the madness of life and who is responding to this with the most and least sanity. And if this last year has taught us anything, particularly in the United States, it's that that's a very tenuous line between, you know, sanity and insanity. So it's sort of it's such a great thought experiment to participate in, but also there's something really just profound, because everybody that these two guys come into contact with are having that conversation, you know, whether it's Austin Pendleton's character or Josh Pius's character, like or Gina Gershon, like whoever it is, they're having that conversation with them. And I think that there's just something so endearing about that.
Yeah, well, endearing and quite beautiful, really, because in a way, I kind of want to, well, I'm going to ask it, aren't we all sociopaths to some degree? Like, don't we all, I mean, honestly, I don't want to take away from clinical diagnoses and so on and the burden of that potentially, but yeah, Thomas, you know, Mazziotti, director, writer, producer, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's to what degree? You can think, but if you act, it's a different story. So right. I think we might think more than we act. But I agree with you. You can initially think, but I think for me, it stops there, because I would never have done things this person did. But I'm certainly enjoy writing about what he did, but I wouldn't have done what he did.
Favorite. I mean, I have so many favorite lines in the film, by the way. I mean, I'm a bit of a, I don't know, postmodern existentialist. I don't even know what that means. But anyhow, I love the line about, you know, keep ringing the doorbell. Maybe somebody's going to answer. I mean, there's just so many, right? There's just so many metaphors and symbols. Can you talk a little bit about some of that? And was any of that ad-libbed, you know, Tommy? I'm really apologizing about Tommy, by the way. I've got to apologize about Tommy.
I understand. I gave you permission. Stop.
You did give me permission. That's true. Yeah,
it's all good. And there's got to be some way to differentiate between the two of us. There wasn't a whole lot in the way of improvisation. I mean, Thomas and I, you know, we would go through text changes and dialogue changes and stuff, you know, while we were shooting, you know, and say like, well, what about this moving here or changing this a little bit or whatever. But, you know, he wrote very specifically. He writes in a very specific, with a very specific rhythm. And obviously, this being a true story, he has a certain degree of ownership and tie to, you know, the story as it exists. So it was a lot about making sure that it was respecting that dialogue and the seriousness with which he took it. You know, there were a couple little things here and there that we changed, but largely, you know, that script isn't too different than the one that I first got.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and your delivery is remarkable. Your performance is really quite astounding. So, and like you said, so funny, but and a thought experiment. I mean, I felt like I was watching a play and being lectured to sort of at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, but in a really good way. Like I do take notes, by the way, when I watch a film, especially when I'm interviewing talented people like you guys, but I just wanted to take more notes. Like, wow, there's so much to learn here.
But David, it's important to note that a lot of times when we were doing things, Tom would always say, all right, let me just do one for, you know, Luce. And we would always do it because it's very important, you know, to let an actor, you know, just go for it up and beyond what you wrote. Right, Tom?
Yeah. No, it was one of the, we were able to collaborate really well in that regard. And I think actually there's a couple of moments that we found that made the cut where, you know, turning it loose and just letting something happen organically that didn't have anything to do with what was originally on the page paid us some dividends, particularly near the end of the film.
Yes.
You know, that I think our one of our last scenes changed in a way that, you know, we really discovered something underneath it that existed in a really beautiful way.
I love too the comedic edge to it, obviously, but it's taking on such a, like, as you said, you know, such a human conversation, essentially. Such a serious subject matter, really. Where do you take out your regression? In the library? My wife's a librarian, by the way, so that cracked me up. The question really is, can you wear Febreeze as a cologne? That's what I want to know. And once we get post-COVID, I'm going to try it. I mean, so by the way, Thomas, I love the fact that just out of focus, there's another 5 or 6 bottles of Febreeze in the background of that shot. Hysterical.
Yeah.
And worth a second viewing just for that alone. So
the sense.
That's sense. Right.
The sense.
It's one of the things that I actually really love and appreciate about the film is that even after, and I don't want to, certainly no spoilers or anything, but there's a whole sequence that takes place in a hospital, and then afterwards, in which there's no makeup. We aren't made up to look like these, horrible car crash victims and everything, even though that's very much what happened. And there's something that I actually really love about that makes the whole thing, that just adds that extra sort of Willy Wonka, kind of weirdness to the experience, that you're like, wait a minute, did that really happen? Or,
100%.
It starts to ask questions like, are these two guys walking around where is the madness, and I love that we, not only just for the sheer fact that neither Jake nor I had to spend 2.5 hours in makeup, during the days when we were shooting, but it just adds an extra degree of an extra little question mark to the proceedings that, I just find really fun.
Thomas,
David, you should know that we only rehearsed once. We all met once before we shot. So I just wanted to, I think it's important to note.
Well, to me, I mean, I'm no filmmaker, but that to me is a testament to the director and to the writing. It seems to me, and of course, to the cast that you were able to bring together. Talk about that just briefly, because crazy cast you got for this, and such amazing performances out of everyone.
Yeah, well,
you just have like a huge bank account. Is that what this is really?
No, when you're dealing with theater actors, heavy theater backgrounds that just changed into film, they always remember where they came from, and when they see something like that, it really sparks, because you don't see that much. It really sparks interest. And people say yes, because it just doesn't get done that much anymore.
Right. So you're sort of talking about that unique nature of a script like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and the opportunity to collaborate with those kind of actors. You start adding it up pretty quickly, and you go, oh yeah, these are people I definitely want to be on set with. We're gonna have a great time.
You're gonna have so much fun.
You're gonna have fun. Yeah.
Did you ever, a film like this, boy, it's got to be hard. From an editing perspective and piecing it together, did you ever feel like in the middle of a scene or after a scene going, whoa, I don't know where that's going to fit? Or
No, because everything was storyboarded, and I was so
which
specific.
I love how you bring out at the end in the credits, by the way. So that's
good.
Real quick call out to everyone to watch the credits. And does a narrator really only make $800? Come on, is that true?
Yeah. Well, you also see that boards in the film in that one scene. As I'm shooting it, you're seeing the boards behind the director as I'm shooting that scene. So it's, I try to incorporate it within it as well as at the end.
So is your tongue firmly planted in cheek, Thomas? Or it's like, there's so many layers in this film. It's really quite lovely.
No, I was telling before we started about the 40s noir and the way they talk. And that I was telling David that people don't change. They just talk faster. So I that's what I did, and it makes a lot of points, and then we go on to the next issue, which meant people accept it. I just said to a friend the other day, I said, is your whole family hypochondriacal? And he says, oh yeah, for years. Doesn't even ask, doesn't even offended by the, accepts it, and we go on with the conversation.
So
there's your answer.
There's your answer.
Is his tongue firmly planted in his cheek? You tell me.
That's right. But I think, you know what, this kind of, I know, and sadly, I know we've got to come to an end here in a couple minutes, but that's sort of coming full circle in a way. I mean, isn't that and this is the existential angle here to me anyway, isn't it about choice? Isn't it about freedom? Isn't it about, being authentic with others? And you guys were, I mean, I think the performances are authentic, the film's authentic, and it's quirky and unique and interesting and wonderful, but it's still about being real, weird, odd, interesting, loving human beings.
Well, and
we
it's
are
also
unapologetically what we are. The film is
Yeah,
unapologetically what it is.
It's
and I really appreciate that. People will respond to it however they respond to it based on their own stuff. But we aren't trying to be anything other than what we are. And that's one of the things I really love about being it.
That's right.
Thomas, you've talked a little bit about some of the film you watch. What do you read other than The Sociopath Next Door? What other books have you? I mean, honestly, I'm interested. I want to step into. I'm thinking of being John Malkovich right now. So, yeah.
Oh well, Machiavelli's The Prince. I used to read it. It just I need to know what to stay away from.
Interesting. That's really great advice, I think, too.
Yeah, because that's how you know where to go. If you know where to don't go. And also I wanted to touch on the fact the picture really is about loss. And there was
the tennis scene.
A woman. Yeah, and there was a woman in an early screening that was crying. And because she had someone in her family she just lost, and she says, "Oh, that's why." And she said out loud, "That's why."
Wow, that's cool.
And that really affected me, because you don't know what people bring to it. You only know what you bring to it. So when you see your work affected by other people, it's very strong.
Yeah, I would say, can I say loss and healing as well?
Yeah.
Healing through community, healing through conversation, healing through sharing a glass of wine together, and so on. It's really beautiful. I've got time for one last question, and just to be odd and absurd. So is the only difference between an addict and an addict the spelling? I don't even know if there's an answer to that question.
Well, there's an addict and an addict. No, it's
That's right.
They're two different things. Yeah. And Tom got that fast.
Is that all I'm going to get out of you, Thomas? They're two different things. Is that all I'm going to get out of that question?
Well, yeah, that's all you're going to get.
That's
out of
all I'm going to get.
I
welcome.
Yeah. It's my tongue in cheek is coming back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Guys, what a pleasure chatting with you today. I was so looking forward to the film and to this conversation. And I don't know, maybe there's is there a part 2 in this down the road? And I'm sorry that we couldn't have done this together at a festival, actually face to face. But what a pleasure chatting with you both. We've got Thomas Mazziotti and Thomas Sadoski here today, talking about their wonderful, unique, beautiful new film, The Mimic. Thanks for your time today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.